You know, for decades, we've dreamed of living on the moon, but its surface is incredibly dangerous, and that's always been the big problem. But what if the solution was hiding right under our feet the whole time? Today, we're digging into a discovery that could change absolutely everything. These massive, ancient caves that might just be where humanity sets up its next home. So, this whole story really kicks off about 15 years ago. A Japanese probe is scanning the moon, the familiar cratered surface, and it spots something weird. It wasn't a crater, it was this deep, dark pit. Just a gaping hole leading down into the moon. And nobody knew what it was. So the question became, what are these strange holes? And let me tell you, this is way more than just some scientific curiosity. This discovery has set off a brand new global space race. Suddenly, countries and private companies are all scrambling, not just to get back to the moon, but to be the very first ones to get inside these caves. And the big question is why? Why the rush? To really get why everyone is so excited, we have to go back to that very first mysterious picture. It basically confirms something scientists had been kicking around for decades but had never actually seen. It was a skylight, a window into whatever was below the moon's surface. And it turns out it was far from the only one. Yeah, not by a long shot. Since that first one was spotted, our orbiters have found over 200 of these holes. So this isn't some rare, one-off geological fluke. It's a major feature of the moon that we just never knew about. The key thing to understand here is that these aren't just deep pits. Scientists are pretty much convinced that every single one of them is a skylight, basically a spot where the ceiling collapsed, and that they're all entrances to this vast, hidden network of underground tunnels, a whole hidden world. So what in the world could create these enormous underground passages? Well, the answer goes way back to the moon's super violent, fiery past. Geologists have a name for them, lava tubes. Okay, so picture this. Billions of years ago, you've got these massive rivers of molten rock flowing across the moon. The lava on the top and sides cools down first, right? It hardens and forms a solid crust, like a roof. But underneath that crust, the super hot lava keeps flowing, just like water through a pipe, carving out this huge channel. Then, eventually, the volcano stops erupting, all that lava drains away, and what you're left with is a giant hollow cave. Now, we actually have lava tubes right here on Earth. You can find them in places like Hawaii, and they're big enough to walk through, which is cool. But on the moon, they're on a whole other level. Because the moon's gravity is so much weaker, only about 1/6 of ours, these things could grow to be absolutely colossal. We're not talking dozens of feet wide, we're talking tunnels that could be over a kilometer wide. Just massive. All right, so they're gigantic caves. Cool. But why does that matter so much? To get that, you have to understand just how incredibly hard it is to survive on the moon's surface. And it turns out, these lava tubes solve a very deadly problem. I mean, the surface of the moon is one of the most hostile places we know of. There's no atmosphere to protect you, so you're getting blasted by cosmic radiation 24/7, you're getting pelted by tiny micrometeorites, and then you have solar storms which can just flood the entire surface with lethal energy with almost no warning. And then there's the temperature. It is just wild. In the daytime, the ground can heat up to 250 degrees Fahrenheit. But when the sun goes down, it plunges to a mind-numbing -200. That's a temperature swing of almost 500 degrees. But inside the lava tubes, get this, the data we have suggests the temperature inside stays at a steady, comfortable 63 degrees Fahrenheit all the time. You literally go from a deadly, extreme environment to a stable, almost shirt-sleeve environment just by going a few feet underground. It's incredible. And that is why everyone is calling them natural bunkers. That thick roof of solid rock, probably dozens of feet thick, is the perfect, ready-made shield against all those dangers on the surface. They are basically the ultimate lunar shelter, and they were just waiting there for us. But hold on, because the vision here, it goes way beyond just finding a safe spot to hide. We're talking about establishing a permanent human presence on the moon. And honestly, the concepts sound like they're pulled straight out of science fiction. Remember how big these things are? A kilometer wide? We are not talking about building some tiny little outpost here. The potential is to build enormous habitats, maybe even entire cities, all tucked away safely under the lunar surface. The dream, really, is to seal off these huge sections of the tunnels, pump them full of breathable air, and then just build everything we need inside. You could have living quarters, research labs, factories, and in that perfectly stable temperature, you could set up huge hydroponic farms to grow food. This would make a lunar colony truly self-sufficient, breaking that long, expensive supply chain all the way back to Earth. Okay, so obviously, before we can start drawing up blueprints for Moon City, there's a huge challenge we have to solve first. We have to actually get down inside these caves and see what they're really like. And that is a job for a whole new generation of robotic explorers. And a new robotic race is already on, with some just brilliant designs. NASA's working on a rover called Duaxle, which can actually split in two. One half anchors at the edge of a pit, while the other half rappels down. A European team has a sphere called Daedalus that just rolls around, mapping the caves with lasers. And my personal favorite is the Space Hopper, which is designed to get around the rough cave floor by, well, hopping in the moon's low gravity. So the mission for these bots is crystal clear. First, map these completely unknown underground worlds. We have no idea what they look like. And second, and this is the big one, they have to check if these billion-year-old caves are actually stable. The last thing you want is for the ceiling of your brand new moon base to collapse. You know, when you step back and look at all this, the discovery, the science, this new race to explore, it brings us to a really powerful, kind of poetic place. In our quest to finally leave Earth and move out into the cosmos, we might end up doing exactly what our most ancient ancestors did. Our story might be coming full circle. Just think about it for a second. Tens of thousands of years ago, the first humans took shelter in caves right here on Earth to protect themselves from predators and the weather. Now fast forward to today. As we look out to the stars, we face new dangers: radiation, micrometeorites, insane temperatures. And where do we find the answer? We're looking to caves once again for sanctuary. It really is this amazing parallel that stretches across thousands of years of human history. After all this time, all of our incredible technology, the path forward might actually lead us back to the most ancient, the most fundamental form of shelter. We're returning to caves, connecting our deepest past to our most distant future. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about, as we're standing right on the edge of maybe becoming a multiplanetary species. Is it possible that the key to our survival out there has been waiting for us this whole time in the dark, silent caves of another world? Are caves not just a part of our past, but also the blueprint for our entire future?